Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Here we are. It's another day. We're halfway through another week, and it is Wednesday, July the 21st of 2021. My goodness, the days, the weeks, everything just ticked by, don't they? Good morning to you, Sarah. You are first out of the gate. And there's my friend and my brother, Wayne Beckles, up in Ontario. Wayne, good day to you, my friend. Good to hear from you and see you. Thank you for tuning in. And if you are at all signing in there, having a look, always know you're welcome. Say hello. Tell me a little bit about yourself in any way, shape, or form. Love to hear from you. Good morning to you, Arta, as well. And actually, I should say good evening to you because it's not good morning. You're like our buddy Wayne, Matthew over in Australia. Good morning to you, Wanda, as well. Thanks for tuning in here in St. John's, Newfoundland. And it is another humid, but rainy day here. And good morning to you too, Ruby, as well. Thanks for tuning in with Wanda. Thank you so much. Trust you're doing well. There's Mahan and there's my buddy John. John, love you, buddy. Thanks for tuning in as well. Just awesome to have everybody say hello. We can use this technology to kind of stay in touch a little bit, which is great. We need that encouragement. But here we go. So today is going to be a bit of a wild day. I am probably going to read some things that are going to make us all uncomfortable. We're going to definitely read some stuff in the Bible that's going to make us uncomfortable. And then I want to present us in our study on God being gentle and lowly and the idea that he's rich in mercy. If we're going to talk about our need for mercy, and we're going to move mercy from the abstract, something we talk about, to something that you can actually cling to as you're wrestling with life, as you're dealing with the circumstances of your life, whether that be feeling lonely, anxious, depression, whether that's struggles in your marriages or relationships, struggles with your kids, whether that's health struggles. So you're just tired, you're in pain, you don't feel like you got that get up and go. Maybe you're walking through times of real darkness and discouragement. Maybe you find yourself angry and discontent and unsettled. Maybe you're fighting with your value, your purpose, your identity, the whole idea of why am I here? What's the meaning of my life? Maybe you're just struggling with stuff like I need friends, or I would like to belong, or I would like to find a community, or why don't I fit in? And then we have everything that we deal with in the church, right? So many of you tuning in would probably say, I'm a Christian, I go to church. And this passage today in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 down to verse 11 is going to deal with stuff that I'm going to tell you right now is going to make us all bristle a little bit in today's culture. I hope, though, I can help us not focus on one statement, but see the totality. And even before we get to that, be honest about what Paul says at the beginning of this chapter. So I've tried to teach us a model that I'm trying to apply in my own life when I read my Bible, which is what I call that whole observe, interpret, apply. And this is where the rubber meets the road for you and I about how we view the Bible, how much do we trust God, what are we going to do when we read things that make us uncomfortable or maybe we don't like or definitely wouldn't be popular in today's pop culture? What do you do now? So that's what we're going to face when we read 1 Corinthians chapter 6. The other thing is, if you read this, it should encourage you on the sense that we're not fighting anything that's new. If Paul wrote this over 2,000 years ago to this thriving, bustling LA type city called Corinth, to a group of Christians, and he believes that are Christians, then I take hope and encouragement when I read it and the Bible speaks to me and it feels convicting or I'm challenged or I'm like, really? Is this what it means? Because in the first 8 verses of what I want to read today is really challenging. And then in the last 5 verses or 3 verses is something really challenging as well. But then we hopefully bring that into this beautiful concept that God is rich in mercy. Now, I'm going to say this now because I want it to percolate in your minds and in mine, and I want it to make its way to our heart. We throw these terms around as Christians: God's mercy, God's grace. I always want to make sure you know the difference, okay? So when you and I experience grace, this is when God gives us things we don't deserve. So when God is kind to us and we don't deserve it, okay? Mercy, mercy is when God withholds from us what we do deserve. Okay? So when you maybe are as a parent and your child has been disobedient and broke something, and maybe they deserve to be punished, they deserve to pay for that, to replace it. That's what they deserve, and yet you willingly, lovingly absorb the wrong, and you don't make your child replace that. You don't make them spend their money. You are offering them mercy. And then on top of that, then maybe you take them out to eat and you're paying for their lunch or their supper. That's being gracious. You don't owe them that. You're just doing that out of the love of your heart. So this is the difference between mercy and grace. Hang on to that, okay? Because this is coming into play in our passage. So Paul is writing to this very gifted, young, affluent, very mixed church, men and women, Jews and Gentiles, all kinds of stuff, but they're very new in the gospel. They're still very much living out their culture. Remember, it started because they were creating cliques. They had celebrity pastors. We've just dealt with yesterday the sexual immorality in the church where a dad's son is having sexual relationships with his stepmom, and the church was almost proud of it. And so we unpacked all of that. So now, as Paul continues with these reports that he's been getting, he gets into this a little deeper in chapter 6, and he says, when one of you has a grievance against another, does he or she dare to go to the law before the unrighteous instead of the saints? Or do you not know that all the saints will judge the world? And if the world is to be judged by you, are you incompetent to try trivial cases? Do you not know that we are to judge angels? How much more then matters pertaining to this life? So if you have such cases, why do you lay them before those who have no standing in the church? I say this to your shame. Can it be that there is no one among you wise enough to settle a dispute between the brothers and sisters? But brothers and sisters go to law against brother or sister, and that before unbelievers? To have lawsuits at all with one another is already a defeat for you. So stop there for a minute. So Paul is basically saying, here is this church. And obviously in the relationships of this church, some of these people either had done business together, or they have lent or given each other money, or they've borrowed things, or they've made agreements, whatever it is. There's a series of either entrepreneurial, relational types of relationships going on amongst Christians. And it didn't end well. Someone didn't keep up their end of the bargain. Somebody broke a promise. Somebody didn't deliver. And rather than deal with that as brothers and sisters in Christ, they're taking each other to court. They're suing each other, and they're going to the world and saying, we can't settle this, you settle it. And Paul's like, what? Now, here is the big part of this. Here are the two questions that Paul asks, and they're rhetorical questions that I think is important for you and I to ask ourselves today. Why not rather suffer wrong? Why not rather be defrauded? But you yourselves wrong and defraud even your own brothers. In essence here, what Paul is saying is, if you have understood the mercy and grace of God, and you've had these issues with each other, why wouldn't you rather be wronged? Now, this is not about justice, by the way, in which you see somebody else being wronged. This is about you personally. So someone takes advantage of you.